You guys feel that? Feel a breeze coming through? It's more like a blizzard. Oh my God.
Wow.
Welcome to episode 81, boys. A surprise episode. That didn't take us long. We said we'd be here every 2 weeks and it barely lasted 2 days.
Yeah.
My name is Dan, or Statman Dan, and there's going to be a lot of stats today. The man in the middle, Uncle Chunt. How are you, sir?
Hi. I'm really excited. Clearly, I put this hat on particularly for this. Yes.
And the traveller, Jamie. How are you, sir?
I've been traveling, but I'm good.
we're all living up to our names. That's good. So I don't really care what you guys have been playing because that's not really why we're here. So this is a little bit of a different episode. So there was a big news that dropped today. This is kind of one of the first big, jumping on a podcast for a big story that we've ever done. But yeah, if you've clicked on the video, you know what we're going to talk about. Xbox has acquired Activision Blizzard King, and we'll go through each of us quickly. I just want to know, where were you, what you were doing, and how did it all sit with you when you heard about it? Chunt, let's start with you, my friend.
I think I was literally just about to go to bed. I was in bed and I was cruising all my notifications and clicked on Twitter and I saw this article appear 2 minutes ago. I was like, what the hell is this? No, I thought it was like a joke or like a random article that might have been uploaded by mistake or just one of those joke accounts. So I was half asleep, right? And I was reading the article. It was half written. It was so new on there. It wasn't a full write up yet. And I was like, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. And then Jamie posted it in Discord. And I was like, yeah, I was just looking at that. Maybe I'll go back and have another look. And I was like, holy crap. Oh my God. What an obscene event in the best way possible. But that's where I was, yes.
Jamie, your time difference is a little different to ours. So
yeah, I was middle of my day. And I just started seeing notifications come through on Twitter and I was like, what is this? I opened it up and I was like, nah, this is bullshit, surely. And then I refreshed and then it was official statements and I was like, what the fuck? What are they doing? And obviously I had to share it with you guys. Dan, you were probably asleep. But yeah, I was like, this is crackers. I think you've seen the sentiment of a lot of people. They can't quite wrap their head around it because some of the deals that they've done already have been large, but this is a whole other level. This is bigger than the GDP of some countries type deal we're talking about. So yeah, I was just like, this is crackers. I want to know about this. I think it's hilarious that it's 69 billion as well. I think it's just it's a good number.
0.8 because they're giving it a little bit more.
It's 68.8, isn't it? So people are just rounding it up to 69.
Yeah, let's do that.
I always know by the amount of messages I have from you guys when something's happened. So when I wake up in the morning, there's a lot of chatter going on here between you two that makes me go, shit, something is going on. I told Monique, as soon as I got up, I'm like, holy shit, you have no idea what just happened. And I said it and it just went right over her head. Told someone at work, went right over the head. They're like, oh, that's pretty good. And then eventually someone messaged me tonight. He goes, how big is Microsoft's purchase? I said, massive in capital letters. And then I said, Sony is fucked. And then, but I guess with the whole acquisition, so after you heard about it and you sat with it a little bit, Jamie, I might start with you first on this one. How did it personally sit with you? As in terms of how it affects you, not in terms of how it's going to affect the game industry, whatever, just in terms of, okay, does this affect you in any way whatsoever? Did you feel really happy about it? Were you just confused about it?
Yeah, but not in a personal way. I think but it's a very bit of a moot point personally. I mean, I'm happy as a platform agnostic human that I am, that more so that these franchises might actually get time to breathe and they might be able to delve into the IP that they now are going to own more than the company have done in recent years. It's like it's pretty much just annualize the hell out of everything and don't set any kind of quality bar. If that goes away and they start to revisit some of these franchises that they own now, everybody wins, and that's kind of my sentiment. I can't wait to see what they do with it, with what they do with the IP. I obviously don't care about the exclusivity thing. I can play anywhere, so but I understand that's personal to me and that's a fortunate situation to be in, but it didn't resonate with me at all on that front. And everything, to be honest, I was just thinking was more about the year they've had and how that's going to pan out now. But yeah, from a personal perspective, happy to see what they're going to do with some dormant franchises. Really, we know that the likes of, all right, they've revamped Crash lately, and it's like, what will Microsoft do with Crash, or what will Microsoft do with Toys for Bob? As Chunt said, do they bring back Banjo, or do they get them to work on some of the Rare IP, which they're just really geared up to take on? Studios like Vicarious Visions and High Noon that worked on Destiny, it's like, I appreciate their work. What could they do given the remit of something of their own to build? And let's not even forget that for years and years of my life, I was always, as a teenager especially, coaxed into, you need to play World of Warcraft. It's like, I can't do the keyboard mouseness of it. It's like I'm not comfortable playing. I'm interested and I like the world and I like those types of games that have established that long ago. So imagine that comes, like, they build controller support in and it's on Game Pass, and it's like, you only win. So I don't have any more of a personal opinion. I think you wanted to save the industry affecting opinions for later on, so I'll throw the buck to Chunt.
Well, me being the one who's the unabashed fanboy, or loyalist, so to speak, and tribal mentality of this particular company and brand, I'm not shying away from that whatsoever. I was just saying to you guys last night about I'm getting my photo of Phil Spencer and I framed and I put on canvas on my wall, that kind of shit. I was very excited, But for me, I'm so heavily invested in the Xbox platform, and I have been since the original Xbox. So to see just the last couple of years, just pound over pound of more good epic shit coming out, I'm like, well, yep, just keep all over my face. Just do it. Just keep bringing it on.
What's the thing that most excited you about it, though? Is there a specific detail?
I have some personal things that'll never happen. I want High Noon to make another Transformers game. I've always said, and I keep saying it, the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron games are just, at the time, they were peak Transformers, or the definitive iteration of Transformers for me at the time. And they just nailed it. You could tell they loved Transformers. I know they're a talented studio, but I keep going back to those games and God, Activision screwed up. They were doing the third one, and Activision, there's a big story about it. If whoever's interested wants to look at it, people have made videos about it, but Activision intervened, and instead of making them or letting them do a third one, they intervened because there was a new Transformers movie coming out, and they wanted a movie tie-in. So they were halfway through making this game, and they made them put Bayformer stuff in that game as well, which is totally unrelated. And it was a mishmash of universes, and it just was shithouse. And they rushed it out the door. I was massively disappointed about that because I was so excited about a third one, because the second game they left Cybertron for Earth, and I was like, sweet, we're going to get G1, when they crash land on Earth 4 million years ago and this kind of shit. I thought they were going with that, and we didn't get it. So that's been a sore spot for me. So now I'm like, Xbox, come on, let them do it. I don't know. It's probably way too far gone, but that's one of my that was literally one of the first things I thought to myself when I read off the list of developers that they now have. I'm like, oh my God, maybe. But yeah, like Jamie said, Warcraft on Xbox. Imagine that. Anyone in the world who's a mobile phone can stream or cloud play World of Warcraft on their phone, or just a mobile play World of Warcraft in your hands. Just that concept alone, that's one of the first things I thought of. And I had a look at Google search around today just about it. So I want to play World of Warcraft on a controller like Jamie. I've tried it. I was trying to impress a girl once at TAFE, and she played World of Warcraft. She's like, let's play World of Warcraft together. And I bought World of Warcraft just to play it with her. And so I was like, nah, I got to level 12 like this shit. I'm out, and that didn't go very far. But anyway, but I've always wanted to delve back into the game, and if they can bring it to Xbox on a controller, hot damn! Like I'll be all over that. I think that's just a no-brainer, or port it over somehow. The API's in there, like the Google search I did was like, does World of Warcraft have controller support? And it has done for years. It's just never been put into place. So that's a potential big win there. Spyro and Crash, cool. Like I love my mascots, but I'm not like cool. I think it's just funny that Crash was this, at one point in time associated or constantly associated to PlayStation. Now they're with Xbox. Same thing that happened with Banjo with Nintendo to Xbox, and like Spyro to, I guess that was always considered PlayStation as well back in the day. But Guitar Hero, StarCraft, like can we get StarCraft and like reboot it or do another game for StarCraft, but make it like Gears of War or something, like not RTS. I'm not an RTS guy, but I'm just wondering maybe they can revamp StarCraft into like a Gears of War third-person action shooter or something like that. Fuck me, I'll be all over that. Shit, just like hordes of Zerg and shit. Yeah, like, oh boy, I want that. That was what all of these are like the things that were going through my brain when I was reading all the articles and the tweets. I'm like, oh, the potential. Oh my god. On Diablo 4 maybe being exclusive, like that's huge. Beanox made some awesome Spider-Man games back in the day. Can they come back and make an exclusive Superman game or something? I don't know. I'm just rattling off everything that's like in an instant. Bing, 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 bing. All these exciting things I was thinking of, like all these things that I want. I'll probably never get, but these are all personal wants of mine. But yeah, very excited if you can't tell. And Game Pass. So what happens if everything comes to Game Pass? All their back catalog of Activision comes to Game Pass, like Bethesda did. Like Bethesda, with it releasing all the new games on Game Pass, but slowly but surely they trickled in their back catalog as well from 360 and Xbox One. Just
before we keep going on with the Microsoft side, basically when I saw it, I was looking at it from a personal thing, and I'm like, okay. And I messaged you guys this early today, where I'm like, Microsoft keep buying the studios that I don't play their games, so I'm not missing a lot. I do play the Call of Duty campaigns, and this actually will work better because once I get my Series X or play it on PC, if it comes all to Game Pass, rather than waiting for the Call of Duty games to drop below $60, I can I'll get them on Game Pass and play the campaign and then get rid of it. And I'm like, this is work out perfect for me. It's just in line with exactly how I play those games. But yeah, so my next question was, and it's a very broad question, so I don't care where you guys want to go with it. I just say, where do you think, what does this do for Microsoft? And you can take that however you want. If you want to talk about games, I'll probably start on that side, following on what you were saying, Jamie, about like one of my first thoughts was with the Call of Duty games. So they have this 3-team rotation for Call of Duty, so they're getting released every year. So my question is, one, are they going to keep it going every year? The other question was, there are the 3 main studios like Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, Treyarch. These developers have been making these games for so long now. Surely some of them want to make something else, but if they've been making, like, especially even Raven coming on now and starting to make really good COD games, do you then take them off? Or Sledgehammer, who've been struggling, do you get them to just do something completely different? Because they're the ones that just released Vanguard and they released the World War II game, and they've always struggled. So do you give them something different? But then why do you give your most talented developers just staying on Call of Duty? So my thoughts were, how are they going to get that into it? And can they start taking year breaks? Especially, it's clearly that they've got the Western RPG and first-person shooters between Halo, Call of Duty, Doom. Like these are like heavy first-person shooters that Microsoft now have. Can you say have 2 Call of Duties, like Call of Duty one year, Call of Duty next year, and then bring out another Halo or something like that? Give Call of Duty after. But I was more thinking in that lines, just because games like Diablo and that I'm not really into, so I naturally go more towards the Call of Duty. that's what I was thinking about. Like, do you start separating those teams a little bit more, or whatever Activision is as a company, they always put out Call of Duty. Like, they never missed a date. They never got delayed. They would bring in every single studio they could to make sure that game got out, and it always has. So, without taking teams off, does that affect making of those games? So,
I think you have to
not brought up.
Yeah, I think you have to not annualize stuff, right? I think we noticed with when Ubi started doing Assassins, every couple of years rather than every year, the quality bar along with the size started going up, and it's like this rushing thing, and I don't think that the rush element for the sake of it is in the DNA of Microsoft. I don't think they're interested in rushing things out. We've learned that over the last 3 years, 4 years, even longer. Look at the cancellation of Scalebound. It's like, do we carry on with this, or do we just pull the plug and do something different? And it's like, we pull the plug and do something different. And I think what you're saying is, I get which way do you go with it? Do you keep the talented guys carrying on churning this out? Which I actually think you do, because it's not going to stop being a cash cow anytime soon. So you still want a level which people can operate at. But yeah, people like Sledgehammer, who have notoriously struggled, but made decent games before they were roped into the Call of Duty scenario, get them to do something different. I think you could... You think about what Call of Duty is, right? And yeah, the campaigns, they take a long time to build and not very many people play them. So have a campaign every 3 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, leave a rotation, keep it between Treyarch and Infinity Ward, and let them do a story-based campaign every 3 years. Warzone will stay as it is. But then, in terms of the multiplayer suite, why can that not become a platform a la Halo? They've said that Halo Infinite is their platform for the next decade, for them to build Halo stuff into. Take that same approach, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do with a studio like that. And I think if you merge Infinity Ward and Treyarch, and just, it's like, you guys, you make Call of Duty. That is this studio, and they probably rebrand it, as a different studio name, and it's like, that is the Call of Duty studio. And if there are developers that are working at, say, Sledgehammer or Raven or wherever, and it's like, do you guys want to carry on working on it? You migrate over to that studio. And then it frees the creative brains up at some of these other support studios to go do smaller releases, because you've got to think about how they're going to integrate it into the larger, Microsoft or Xbox game studios, whatever they call it. How do you migrate teams and build teams to create those smaller experiences? And that's something that Phil Spencer spoke about. It's like, we want our big marquee titles, but they need, realistically, every 6 weeks or so for there to be a drop on Game Pass that everybody wants to play. Be that a small 4-hour title, be it a 15-hour solo adventure, or be it a big mammoth AAA, you're going to sink thousands of hours into this, and they have to get that balance right. And I think this acquisition will only push them further into that. But that's how I'd work the scenario with the Call of Duty studios specifically. And as for, just to touch on the others, because I'll pass the buck in a second, the Blizzard studios, like, I think there's a chance Diablo 4 becomes an Xbox exclusive. And I think mainly out of quality control, because that project's it's already been known that it's not in a great place. It's taken a lot longer than they thought it was going to, and Vicarious Visions are going to move over to work on that anyway. So do you know what I mean? It's like
Overwatch in a similar position.
Overwatch is in a similar position. So I think those games, you go, right, do what you do best, build it for PC, and then they can migrate it to Xbox. I think that will happen with Overwatch and with Diablo, and then those teams can transition onto StarCraft or whatever other proper Blizzard IPs they want to bring out. But yeah, the other guys, I want to see the little studios like Jump was touching on. these guys that did like Transformer games or, you know, tie-in IP games and stuff years back that were pretty good. Like, they weren't terrible. Like, what can Phil and the leadership team think in terms of setting up studios? Because I think a lot of these little studios will go away. I think they'll go away, or they'll be rebranded, or they'll be absorbed into other teams. Do you know what I mean? It might be that the Coalition take Raven, and it's like, you're now being absorbed into the Coalition, but you're working on a different project. Do you know what I mean? I think they can't sit there and have like 40 studios building, you know, 80 games for the next like 5 years. That sounds great, but it'd be a logistical nightmare. Like, I don't think you could pay a project manager enough money to keep control of what the output needed to be for that. That's a lot of management. And I don't doubt that they'll get the structure right, but they are getting to the point now where they're swelling to such a size. I think once the acquisition's complete, don't be surprised to see some consolidation of these littler studios. Not that they're going to let people go, just that they're going to move them around.
And manage, at least at some of those studios at this point. But yeah, no, Chan, the big question for you is, you know, Candy Crush. Like, what happens with Candy Crush coming over? Like,
it keeps making billions and billions and billions.
Yeah, it's just a revenue source. Like, the whales that play that game will continue to be whales and generate income. You know,
it's the knowledge of the mobile market as well. Let's not forget that. It gives them a footing in the mobile space.
King and all that stuff. Look at the Hearthstone. Like, that's huge. Like
last week when Take-Two bought Zynga, Take-Two's stock actually dropped a lot just by purchasing them. Just they're all trying to have that vertical as part of their plan, the mobile market, and that's what King is for Activision and now.
Right, yeah. Well, I don't think a lot of these smaller studios under the Activision and Blizzard banner will like get absorbed too much. I can see where you'd think that, because it would make sense. Like, how do you run so many studios? But I think Activision, like they've said, is going to be run pretty much hands off. Like, once they get rid of the cancers in that company, whoever runs Activision Blizzard will report to Phil, but that person will just manage the teams and manage the company like they have been already, hopefully in a better form. Like,
well, this leads into my next question, which my next question was, what does this do for Activision? So we can probably start talking about them now in terms of,
well, you see the memes going around of, you know, once the pen has dried on the contract, and Big Phil is you know, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and Bobby Kotick answers to him. The first act is like, get the fuck out. You know, get gone, you bastard, and take the cancers with you, you mongrel. Like, that would be first play in my book. But how do you, like, all the problems that have been happening there with, you know, all the walkouts, the, you know, demands, the protests and that kind of stuff, and the what do you call it, the union stuff that's going on.
Right.
Like, how do you navigate that stuff? Like, I wouldn't even imagine, like, what a minefield to walk into. But Microsoft, being Microsoft, I'm sure they've dealt with that stuff in other areas in their own company outside of Xbox. So I'm sure they know how to, like, navigate this stuff. But you'd have to imagine these people, do they find it as a beacon of hope or not? Like, you've been working under these conditions with people that just don't care and, like, sweeping stuff under the carpet for so long, and it's only just recently come to light over the last year. Like, do you feel confident going into being under the Xbox Game Studios banner and Phil being the CEO, and his messaging for the last number of years promoting, like, you know, inclusivity and, like, fair play and, like, gaming for everybody and all that kind of stuff? Like,
they're going
to
clean
these
house.
people think? Well, yeah, like, what do you think?
The Workers' Alliance did tweet out they were basically surprised by the acquisition.
It's just me, or is your mic?
Yeah, talk into your microphone, mate.
My bad. This is my first time. Basically, the Workers Alliance have just said that, like, they released on Twitter saying that they're surprised by the acquisition, but essentially they're still fighting for workplace improvements. And part of their thing was that they wanted Kotick removed, and then I think they're in their 5th week now. The Raven team on their strike. So I just don't know. Are they going to wait until June 2023 until this is done? I doubt it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
I think I think that they're going to clean house, right? They will stomp on any and all reports, even if some of them are unfounded. But someone's got a bit of a shady character about it. They're gone. They're just
imagine how many people are going to be upset when they figure out how much Kotick gets bought out for.
Yeah, that I mentioned that to you guys in the chat yesterday. I don't like. It's good that this is probably going to signal the end for him. Although he said he may stay on, it's an untenable position. He's not a man that reports to anybody, so
it won't be up for him to decide either.
No, it won't be up to the board of Activision Blizzard. It will be up to the board of Microsoft, who will go, thank you and good night.
Yeah.
But he will he's going to get a silly payoff. The payoff's going to be, it wouldn't surprise me if it's close to $1 billion. It's going to be a disgusting sum of money.
Couple of stats for you. So apparently Activision stock was around like $65 a share before this announcement. It's now up to $82 a share. But the offer that Microsoft came in was for $95 a share. So they like paying $30 a share more than the asking price, and that was
because
huge.
the studio's it has been largely undervalued for its output based on its public image. The share value is probably worth more akin to what they're looking to pay for it, and the nature of the stock market is as it ebbs and flows. As soon as they get out of, if they were staying an independent business, well, publicly floated, but not owned by Microsoft business, by the time they get out from all of the crap and they got the company reorganized and they dropped in next year's Call of Duty, that share price, and Diablo comes out, that share price would have shot back up over $100. I think it was way over $100 this time last year. So it's smart for everybody, to be honest, from a fiscal point of view. But I'm just more interested in how it affects getting rid of Bobby Kotick. I mean, I think even between the three of us, we've been talking about what a demon human this man is for 8-9 years now. I'm pretty sure we had a Gameplug podcast with his face with demon eyes on it. Like, that was, and we're talking 2014 then. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's notoriously a scumbag. So if it ousts the scumbags and lets the creative people do what creative people do and make good experiences for people and still keeps making Microsoft money, that's another thing. Do you notice how everybody was like really shocked by the Bethesda amount, going, how can they afford that? Like, it's like, well, Game Pass will fund it within a couple of months, don't you worry about it. But like this time round, everybody's not even batting an eyelid at the amount of money, and it's what, 7 times more.
It was in cash.
Yeah.
Like just crazy amount. And get onto this later, but Microsoft is worth $2.2 trillion overall, and I think before this the market cap was 15 billion. So like they are just Xbox is just a drop in the bucket for Microsoft. Like they're like, okay, yeah, sure, you're doing this thing, we'll just take it over.
The potential, man, is insane. Like, it's not just the IP, like it's the technology that each developer has, like their engines and like their knowledge, the talent, the IP. But if they wanted to branch out and make like an Overwatch TV show or cartoon or a Diablo movie or something, or, I don't know, but they've got all these IP that they can just flex with. Like Guitar Hero, Like, does that come back in some regard? Like, who knows? Skylanders could be a thing again. Who knows? Toys to Life, is that really dead? Tony Hawk, like, can they remaster or remake 3 and 4, which are fucking awesome? Can we get those? Like, there's all this kind of stuff I'm really looking forward to. Like, yeah, it's all the other like ancillary stuff that we can all think of what's going on. But I'm like, man, when you really delve into like the games and the studios and what is now the potential that could occur within all these teams, I've always been like, I want my 6 to 10 hour campaign or game on a weekend back. Like, I want that kind of thing back. And if we can get all these studios, like we kind of touched on just earlier, like building that game that they really want to make, you know, not just to keep annualizing shit. Like, what's that game that you've always wanted to make but you couldn't because you were forced to make this cash cow constantly? Like, I want to see what those experiences are. Like, It Takes Two, we finished that a few days ago, last weekend, sorry. And man, we thoroughly loved that. Like, and we did that over like a weekend, essentially, like three sessions or whatever, just playing it. And there was nothing else to it. Like, there was no like collectibles that you had to really look for. Like, there were mini games that you could find in the game, but there's no grinding for shit. It didn't overstay its welcome. The story was great. Like, you know, it was a focused experience. We used to get that stuff on the original like Xbox, the Xbox 360. Like, we all had that kind of stuff. PS3, like that generation had it. PS2 generation had it. I want those back. So if we can get like Xbox going, yeah, we've got our big tentpole titles that'll have the games as service experiences that people like just to sit on a game for years. But all these other little studios could probably feed the Game Pass method. Like, Netflix has to keep putting movies and content on there. Like, can we get those smaller experiences? Man, like, I can't tell you how often I've gone to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla and I've stopped myself because I'm like, I don't have the time yet. I'm going to play through some smaller games on my backlog first, you know? And I think that's a bit of a problem. And if we're going to get more of those, I hope Xbox and Activision don't continue to make those games that call for an investment of time, you know? Like, how can you fund a Game Pass like service or keep it sustainable if every game is a 100 to 50 hour experience or something like that? I just, it's cool. It's great. It means you've got a shitload of big games. Like, the RPGs are coming, like Avowed, Elder Scrolls 6, like that stuff is coming. But what about the smaller stuff? Like, I don't know, man. Like Crash Bandicoot, is there another one of those coming out? That'd be exciting. Banjo-Kazooie, just bring that back. Banjo 3, you know, that rumored thing that's been in the works or the backlog of some studio warehouse somewhere in the drawer of someone's desk for the number of years. Like, I want these little things to come back. That's what I really want out of this acquisition. And maybe like if they stop buying studios, if they go, this is it for us for a while, we're going to just go, you know, let's not talk about acquisitions. Let's not talk about buying more studios. We've got 125 million studios now to start making content for us. Here's all the games.
Until they buy Capcom and Sega next week.
Well, yeah, right. I wouldn't say no to Sega. Like, you know, if you could bring Sonic over to the greenhouse as well, that'd be fantastic. That would just be like, Xbox is buying shit for me now, you know? That'd be great. But yeah, I don't know, man. The potential is limitless.
So now I wanted to move on to the rest of the industry. But I did want to point out, so last year alone, there was $85 billion in acquisitions, which was the highest of any year of mergers and acquisitions in the video game industry. And Microsoft just came in with 68. So I just thought that was hilarious. It's also only shot about $2 billion short of how much Disney paid for Fox in that. It's just kind of showing you how freaking big this deal is. So yeah, my next question was going to be Nintendo, Sony, other publishers, other acquisitions, what you guys wanted to talk about. I'm going to get rid of kind of the indie discussion quickly because you were sort of talking about that. The only thing I can really think of is if there's a danger of small indies having to rely on Game Pass to get to get their game profitable in a way. You know what I mean? So, like, how many times is it going to be the phrase where you go on and you go, I like the look of that game, but I'll wait for it to come to Game Pass? Like, how many indies will that affect? And I think that's a real question. I don't like indies are important to have, but it's not the bread and butter also of what.
But they still get paid. That model still means that they get paid. So.
Yeah, but is the business model? God, I hope we get picked up by Game Pass. Otherwise, we're in trouble. Like that's kind of the worrying thing about.
Yeah, it's not a good place for that indie developer to be in, but it's a great place for Microsoft to be in because the negotiating power that it gives them.
It's also not part of this acquisition because it's not like Activision and Blizzard was walking around and being like, yeah, we'll publish your small games. They just weren't. So that's not really part of this acquisition necessarily. It's more just there are less publishers technically off the board this time than there were 3 years ago. There's just, especially even Embracer Group, who have twice as many studios as Microsoft do. They have like 65 studios or something. So yeah, that was just a question I wanted to raise, but you guys follow on.
The Switch exists. Like a lot of indie games make their bread and butter on the Switch. Like that, a lot of people don't seem to remember that. Like if you go onto the eShop, I've stopped going on the eShop because it's an abomination to navigate and it's so full of shovelware and crap. But you'd be surprised the amount of success stories you find on someone just putting in a game on the Switch and it just sells. Like people are just wanting more games on the Switch. You know, that thing's got almost 100 million consoles out there now. So you've got this vast ocean, you know, to put your product out into and see if people want to go fish for it. Yeah, Game Pass it's an option. It's not essential. I mean, you can still publish it on Xbox. There's a lot of indie games and titles on Xbox, the store, but Game Pass isn't necessarily like the be all end all. You know, it's just if you get invited to it or you're suitable for it. Like I played an indie game recently called Song of Iron. One guy made it. You know, it's a Norse mythology type game, and it's just like a side scroller action game with a mystery behind it. And a pretty cool story with a twist at the end. I bought that myself. I saw his Twitter feed, people asking like, "Is this coming to Game Pass?" And he was like, "No, I haven't got the call, or you know, they haven't got approved for it or whatever, but it's still going up." And yeah, he's after launch, he seemed to have been successful anyway. Like it sold pretty well according to what he was saying. And I really enjoyed the game. So if it did sell well, I'd know why. Yeah, like it's pretty rough in parts, but man, I enjoyed the experience. So I don't think these little indie developers need to like, if they're building their success plan around making it on Game Pass, they really should reevaluate. You know, you can't, I mean, I'm not an expert, but just logically, like if you're kind of locking yourself into one form of success path, you're probably doing it wrong, right? So I don't think that's a healthy way that they should be looking at it. But I do feel bad that if we're getting all these like pretty substantial developers making games for Xbox now, and you can assume they're all going to go to Game Pass day and date, like all those little games might get a bit squashed or, you know, you might have to dig a little harder for them if they are in Game Pass. But Game Pass being at 25 million subscribers now, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I thought it would be more, but I think this is going to push more subscribers, which is the whole point of it, right? These acquisitions aren't just made in a vacuum and there's reasons for everything. I could just assume that like all of us, the three of us, if we can go, right, Xbox has their exclusives and now we can play like every Diablo, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, blah, 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 Elder Scrolls, all these games for one subscription. Anyone that is worth their space will understand the value of that, whether you're on PlayStation or Nintendo. And you can play it on PC, right? You don't have to be locked to an Xbox console, or you can just play it on your phone. Cloud gaming is actually pretty good now. Like I have tried it out myself in recent weeks, just while I'm chilling in the lounge room, just grinding out something or just watching a movie or something, and it's working like pretty damn well. So there are other options, man. Like everything Xbox is doing is like, holy fuck. Like, I never saw this coming. I don't think anyone did. Like, if you could say in 2013, not to harp on the Xbox One launch again, because I'm so sick of people bringing that up. It happened. Cool. It's an old
You're
story.
bringing
But
it up.
I know, I'm a hypocrite, but it's like, you go back and look at what happened then, and then now. It's just insane. Like, how no one, like, they were about ready to sell off. Like, there were some people behind the scenes, like in the higher parts of Microsoft, bringing up the option of like, do we just get rid of Xbox? Like, do we just fold our cards, you know? And this series that we're in now, series of consoles, was in a meeting once. I can't remember the lady's name, but she just stood up and was like, if this is our last go, let's just be bold about it and just put it all out on the table. And they've done that since the launch of the Series X, even before then. And holy crap, like, is this it? Like, is there more coming? Like, how do you top this? You know, besides just providing excellent experiences, you know, like, if this is it, let the studios breathe and make their stuff, like, prove their worth, and like, let them flex their muscles and spread their wings, and whatever analogy you want to put out there. Like, it's very exciting. Like, not just for me as an Xbox guy, but anyone. Like, the potential of new games that we could get, potential new stories, new IPs, new franchises, like new cool characters that we might come across that we might never have experienced because all these studios are stuck building and supporting Call of Duty or World of Warcraft or whatever, you know? Some guy in the back rooms has got a cool idea, but he can't do it because his boss is like, no, we can't. We have to do Call of Duty instead. Like, all that kind of shit. That's what excites me a lot about this whole deal. I don't know. I could rant on. I'm just going to stop and give it to one of you guys because I'm excited.
Big Phil won't stop.
No. Can't stop, won't stop.
He won't.
So here's the next question. Do you think, with ZeniMax and then with this, they've bought 2 publishers. Do you think they continue on with getting more publishers, or do you think they now are just going after studios? Like, do they go after Bungie? Do they do that, or do they? Yeah, are they going after? I don't know which one you go after. You can talk about Square Enix, or you can talk about Bandai Namco, or just where do you think they go? Do they do more studios, more publishers, and then I think we also finish up on what do you think Sony do at this point? Jamie, you can go.
I mean, where next? I think it's got to be Japan. If you look at just logically what they're doing, they need to bring a Japanese studio or 2 in house. How they do that, I don't know. I know obviously Bethesda have got a team out there, but it needs more. That's the locale they've been trying to crack for a while. I'm not sure that Phil's come up with the solution of how to do it yet, but he often references that he spends a lot of time there. So that's a market they're obviously still scouring. Sega makes most sense there because Sega have Atlas and other developers, like, they're all based in Japan. You know, something like the Persona franchise actually outsells Pokemon in Japan.
Oh, damn.
Like, that people don't realize it's massive over there.
I didn't know
so
that.
things like that, and obviously, you know, Capcom, the size of Monster Hunter out there, like, it's big everywhere, but like the handheld variants and stuff are huge in Japan because that's how they operate, right? They all do handheld. That's how they engage with the medium. So how do you get like the leg up there? I think that's what they need to look at investing in next. So I'd go, Japan, and something to do with how they conquer the handheld market there, because as much as Game Pass is great, and they saw an uptick there when they made it mobile, when the beta on mobile went out, that's where they were like, oh, we're seeing growth. But how do you push that to the next level? How do you make them want the console in the TV station and all that kind of stuff? So that's where I see the next logical step for them. What was your other question?
Sony. What are they doing next?
I don't think
I just don't see them going on a spending spree. Like, no, they're not the type of company that would do that.
They can't, and they can't deviate from their plan. I think they're finally getting to a stage where they're getting a plan, which, you know, again, something that we said 3 years ago was they need to start thinking about how they're going to counter this whole like cloud-based like service. It's a service, right? And for the longest time they just didn't. They rested on their laurels, which they're renowned for doing. Everybody could see last generation when they were absolutely stomping it that they were not putting their cards in place for this one. It's all well and good having studios that are building games, but and as good as those games might be, it's like I said to you earlier this week, the talk was all about Spartacus, right? And they're revamping PlayStation Plus to include, it's rumoured that it's going to be 3 separate tiers, and like you can have your original tier that we're in at the moment, and next one up would give you access to like loads of emulation and stuff. It's similar to what Nintendo's enhanced offering is. And then the premium tier, whatever they call it, PS Plus Max, if they think that they're Apple, will be day and date releases. But what does that cost, and how much is that subscription? Does it give you access to a full back catalogue and stuff? It's the stuff that we don't know, but that just to me is clunky. So I think if their next move has to be, shit, we've just taken another stomp, we need to get out in front of this, and whatever their original plans for Spartacus were, scrap them. Keep their original PlayStation Plus thing that they're doing now, and then you can have another service. It's like having Live Gold or Game Pass. They're the 2 options that you have. Gold will go away because it's included in Game Pass, so they're just going to restructure their pricing. And Sony needs to do the same thing. It's like, look, here's your basic. You get a couple of free games a month. It allows you to use your online services, which is what they've got at the moment. Maybe keep that. Is it the PS Plus collection? Is that what they call it? The collection of a few games that you have access to if you sign up. And then your next tier is your $15 a month, or whatever the conversion currency it is to you. So like Game Pass for me is $11.99 a month. Sony put something out similar. It's the same price and it gives you access to day and date. And as long as your subscription's active, you've got access to that game. They don't have another play. If they don't come to the table to play the game, it's not gonna work anymore. And I think they also need to take stock of what they've done on PC. And there's a bunch of people, who'd say play God of War on PS4 and have a pretty decent PC now, who would be sat there going, oh, if like I own that, like I bought that game, if I could play that on my PC, I'd download and play it again. Do you know what I mean? But Sony, in their heads, rather than going, we'll just give you that, they go, nah, $39.99. It's not the market that we're in anymore. And if they don't come to the table soon and start changing some stuff, they're in some trouble. For as good as their developers are and how good these games are going to be. And it's stuff like Horizon comes out in a month's time? Is it a month today? A month yesterday?
Month yesterday.
It's a month away. Imagine the difference, even if they could offer it's on PlayStation 5 and PC. Do you know what I mean? The sales numbers that would be astronomical. They've got a lot of changes that they need to make. I don't know where they go. If they don't do what I've just suggested, I can't see a way for them to compete. I mean, they'll obviously keep putting out really high quality games. The studios are awesome. They're also charging $70 a game, might I add. So that's, another point of contention. They're increasing the prices of individual games while Xbox are adding more and more and more to a service that is the same price as Netflix. It's a no-brainer.
I think that's a good place to end it on. I feel like we've got Sony news coming up in the next couple of months, so we can talk more about their strategy once we hear a little bit.
I mean, do either of you guys, just before you wrap it, do either of you have a different opinion, or are you in alignment?
Well, I do agree Sony's in trouble. Like, Nintendo has it locked in Japan. Sony not really abandoned Japan PS5 launch, but they spread out their stock, obviously, to other markets like US and Europe more as a priority than they did last time, right? So Nintendo's had all this extra space where their consoles have been readily available, and you can't get a PS5 in Japan, where traditionally Japan's been pretty, they hold their cards close to their chest as far as their own companies go, and this has started way back when, I don't know if you guys heard, Dan, you might have, but like when Sony started saying, or PlayStation, I should say, started making Japanese developers swap their X and O buttons around, which has always been different. Like Japan's X and O buttons work the opposite than they do in the West, but now that's uniform in Japan now, where they have to suit the West. So they've got this different angle coming in now, where they're veering off from focusing on Japan, whereas Nintendo's like, sweet, we've got all this extra bandwidth for us to go, and they're just gangbusters. So you have all these games being developed for Switch, optimized for Switch, exclusive to Switch, like Monster Hunter Rise. Like we had Monster Hunter World on PS4 and Xbox One. Monster Hunter Rise is exclusive to Nintendo, like made specifically for it with the RE engine, right? So that's a major title to be locked to that system. And you still can't get PS5s. Everybody knows that, right? But the mobile space and the handheld market space in Japan has been the dominant force for years. Like their living spaces are smaller over there. The PS5 is a fucking giant obelisk. The DS was a runaway success and still sells in Japan. The Switch is gangbusters, like I said. Xbox getting over there is the mobile space. That's their entry. Everybody has a phone over there. You know, funny enough, Blizzard, you got a phone, don't you? You know, that whole thing. That's their end. Like I don't think, like, if Sony want to make a play for it, they can try and come up with a cloud-based service somehow. And they've got a partnership or contract or some shit working with Microsoft to use the Azure technology for something, right? Who knows what that is? But do they do a Vita 2, you know, to capitalize on that handheld market? Because who knows what's going to happen? Like this hardware, like chip shortage and shit. Can't remember the exact term. Everybody knows. Like there's shortages all around the world for hardware and stuff because of parts. We just can't get them, and they can't manufacture them fast enough. So do they bring out a new hardware like Vita 2 that has lesser hardware in it? Who knows? I don't know. But I think, yeah, Sony are on the back foot. And I think in a big way for the first time in many years that they're completely unprepared for, like Jamie said. And it's going to hit them in the face very fast. I'll be disappointed because, yeah, like Xbox is my go-to. Everybody knows that, and I've made it abundantly clear. But I still want a PS5 because they have exclusives on there I want to play. And that's the whole thing. Exclusives sell boxes. It's a fact. It is.
Sony are a Japanese company that has one first-party studio in Japan, and that's it. The rest.
But they shut down Japan studio. Their massive legacy studio that's been around since PS1.
They left Asobi is the only one left. But
yeah.
they're in their strategy. I feel like is in catch-up mode, but it's catching
backwards,
up
man.
It's catching up to a plan that Microsoft left in the dust when they started talking about like Stadia and Amazon are our competitors. Like that's how they view it. So
Sony's in an odd space, man. Like Nintendo is doing Nintendo. Nintendo does that, and that's what they've always done, and they get away with it, right? Because their games and IP are strong. Xbox is leading the way and has done since the original Xbox. I don't care what anybody says. Everything that we have today with modern console gaming was ushered in because of Xbox. Dreamcast might have had an Ethernet port in it, but it wasn't a broadband port, you know, and it didn't have a hard drive in it, and it didn't have a DVD drive in it. You know, the original Xbox did, and everything that one has is everything till we have what we today. Like everything that you know that you do on PlayStation, Xbox did first. Nintendo's still playing catch up. Those two companies, the only one that I can say is going to be more successful than the other is Nintendo is going to wipe it over Sony. I'd never thought I would say that because Sony is a juggernaut, you know. Their IPs are massively strong and beloved, but their company decisions are massive red flags in recent years. I can't stress it. Like you can't say they don't know what's going on with Microsoft. Everybody knows each other.
I could discuss this with you, but we actually really have to wrap up because Jamie looks like he's going to shit himself if we don't finish soon.
Oh shit! Sorry.
So we have to wrap up.
You've got 5 minutes.
I'm just a bit passionate. I'll stop.
You know what? I think we should table this discussion until next month when we hear what the hell this thing Sony is that they're going to bring out, whatever this Spartacus thing is, and then we can go into a whole full discussion about all that because you make some points, some valid, some I'd like to discuss. But today's Xbox's day, and it was a huge day, and it was very exciting to get some actual good quality news. Jamie, thank you very much, sir, for fitting this into your schedule.
All right. No problem.
I've never seen you smile so much. Don't tell Sarah.
It's pretty good. I'm running on 3 hours sleep, so I'm like half delirious at the same time. So.
Yeah, you boys both need to go do some sleeping.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I'm going to bed. It's midnight. So thank you very much, and we will see you in a couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Bye.